Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, April 14, 2014. Can I get a motion to approve our minutes from our board minutes of March 26, 2014?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Pat, second by Phil. So all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And can I get a motion to approve the executive board minutes of March 26, 2014?
So moved.
Moved by Ann, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next matter on the agenda is public participation. First, well, I'm gonna, because there's so many people here, I'm gonna do this in threes, okay? And then you can each take a turn. It'll probably save us some time doing that. So can I have Scott Hanley, Ryan Livergood, and Wendy Dennis come up, please? So just a few ground rules. The maximum time allotted for public participation in total is 15 minutes. You can each have, I believe, 3 minutes to speak, if I'm not mistaken, right? 3 minutes? And then we can extend your time for another 2 minutes by motion of someone from the board. So the floor is yours, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow members of the board, I appreciate the time this evening to come speak with you. My name is Scott Hanley. I live at 5 Toby Lane here in Wakefield. I have been what I would consider somewhat active in community affairs, but very rarely have found myself compelled to come before this board and speak with you, until now. The issue at hand, the public parking garage located downtown, seems to be yet another issue that has pitted neighbor against neighbor. And in a perfect world, when neighbors have the same and accurate information to make an informed decision, that would be what I consider democracy at its best. The problem in this case, I feel, is that over the last few weeks and months, our residents have been subjected to misinformation, inaccurate details of this project, and an oversaturation of negative letters submitted to the Wakefield item. As a well-known Harvard law professor sometimes tells his students, if the facts are on your side, pound the facts. If the law is on your side, pound the law. If neither is on your side, just pound the table. That, in my opinion, is what we've been hearing the last few weeks, the pounding of the table. That's why I'm here, and that's why I assume other concerned citizens are here this evening to speak with you. We feel that this town has so much to offer, not only now, but well into the future. Some may lose sight of that, but I can assure you this group, and I have not. On a more personal note, my wife and I moved to Wakefield. We moved our family here over 20 years ago because we love the welcoming nature of this town and its citizens. I would now like to continue and extend that sentiment to our senior citizen community by saying we support the Brightview Assisted Living Facility in its current proposed location, and would also look forward to the increased vitality this facility would bring to our downtown community. When the Assisted Living Overlay District was voted upon and approved at town meeting in 2012, the voting majority thought this would be a desirable location for senior living. I believe, and many of us believe, that this still is. If not here, in the heart of downtown, where so many of our amenities are accessible, I would ask, then where? Placing this type of living facility in a central location, such as Crescent Street, not only brings people to our downtown area, but also offers an enhanced quality of living to the Brightview residents. The opposition to this project has indeed been very vocal. But other than just telling us why we should vote no, where are their suggestions or alternatives? We have presented to the town signed petitions from many Wakefield residents and are here asking for your continued support when this article is placed on the agenda and comes up for vote at the next town meeting in May. Until then, as a group, we will take it upon ourselves to speak to as many of our neighbors as possible in order to increase the turnout and participation in this democratic process. We will reach out to not only ask, but to challenge all Wakefield residents to educate themselves to the facts and the accurate details of this proposed project, and then to attend and support it on the floor of our next town meeting. We may not get another chance. I appreciate your time, Mr. Chairman. Fellow members, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanley. Ryan Livergood.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a motion, because that one went a little long. I move that we add the extra 2 minutes onto his time.
Second. Moved by Brian, second by Pat. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, fellow selectmen. My name is Ryan Livergood, and I live in 13 Hart Street here in Wakefield. I am here with many other fellow citizens today. Some of us have small children. Some of us have grandchildren. Some of us are new to this community, and some of us have families that have been in Wakefield for generations. What we have in common is that we are all citizens of Wakefield, and we have formed a grassroots coalition because we all share the belief that voting in favor of the garage is the responsible decision for the future of our great community. We are here to petition the Board of Selectmen to recommend favorable action on this article. As a newcomer to Wakefield, I haven't had my finger on the pulse of local politics. Leading up to the April 1st referendum, I have to admit I thought the yes side was a done deal, a no-brainer. I had considered putting a yes sign in my front yard, but my wife and I had heard that the no side was intimidating people with yes signs to take them down. We didn't want any trouble, and since special town meeting approved the proposal 148 to 36, we thought, why bother? When the postcard from the no side came in the mail with misinformation that was just dead wrong, I thought, maybe I should talk to my neighbors about this. Will people actually believe these reckless messages? But once again, I saw so many more yes signs than no signs, so again I thought, why bother? To my credit, the only thing I did bother doing responsibly was voting yes on April 1st. That night, I was really excited about the start of a better downtown Wakefield, knowing this proposed project would be great for business, bring jobs to our community, and improve the financial well-being of the town. I was shocked when I read online that town meeting's approval had been overturned. Then my feelings turned to disappointment. Disappointment that the citizens of Wakefield voted against a fiscally beneficial project. Disappointed that I let myself be intimidated by the no side. Disappointed that I didn't do more. I realized that night that I hadn't upheld my responsibility as a citizen of Wakefield. I hadn't done my part to spread the message about what a great opportunity this was for my community. I hadn't done my part to contribute to a thoughtful and positive discussion on this topic. What I soon discovered, however, is that I wasn't alone in my disappointment. It turns out there are a lot of people in Wakefield that feel the same way I do. We as citizens didn't do a good enough job of educating our friends, family, and neighbors about how this project will benefit the town economically. We didn't spread the word about how this project not only doesn't cost us tax dollars, but actually generates tax revenue for the town. We as citizens didn't do a good enough job of making this a civilized, positive conversation about this project. Those against this project made untruthful, negative statements about how this project would cost us money or how the parking garage would be nearly the size of TD Garden. And we as citizens didn't hold those making these blatantly false statements accountable. We stood by as the discussion unnecessarily divided our town and allowed not just our elected volunteer leaders to be vilified, but also local businesses that have given so much back to Wakefield. Simply put, we failed our civic responsibility to have a positive civil discussion about a project that is just too important to our town for political games and hidden agendas. Thus, that is why so many of us signed the petition to put this article before town meeting. We are here tonight not only to ask the Board of Selectmen to recommend favorable action on this article, but also to ask the Board of Selectmen to continue with their track record of complete transparency regarding this project. We hope the board and the developer can add new information to the conversation, especially about what exactly this project could look like downtown. We seek to have an intelligent, enlightened, and above all, positive discourse about the proposal with Brightview Assisted Living to bring a parking garage to downtown Wakefield. This time, it isn't about pushing agendas. It isn't about playing politics. This time, it is about doing the responsible thing, having a discussion about the facts. To do otherwise would be a disservice to the citizens of Wakefield. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Livergood. Wendy Dennis.
Mr. Chairman, fellow members of the board and others. Thank you for this opportunity to speak here this evening. My name is Wendy Dennis. I live at 12 Armory Street here in Wakefield. My story is a bit different. I was strongly against the parking garage plan after reading information presented via letters to the editor, a postcard mailing, and posts and comments on the Wakefield community page on Facebook. From these, I assumed that the town would have no input as to the final look and size of the structure, that the land was just being given away, and that basically the project was, at best, based on bad math, or at worst, was the result of illicit backroom deals. It took reading Steve Mayo's letter to the editor in the item, and then watching the question and answer part of the public forum presented on March 24th, for me to realize that what I had been taking as facts were actually opinions based on speculation. As I watched question after question being answered clearly and thoroughly, including giving reasonable explanations as to why some information was not yet available, I was troubled by the number of folks who said that they would just vote no anyway. I know that not all, not everybody, but I do know that many people voted against this public-private garage project partnership because of reasons based on one or more of the numerous rumors going around that have no grounding in fact or expertise, but instead have worked to instill fear, uncertainty, and doubt. For example, I got a phone call for a friend when I had left him a message about possibly signing the petition, and he hadn't really listened. He goes, "Oh, what do you want me to do?" And I told him. He goes, "But I was against that. I voted no." And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Well, it was all backroom deals." And I said, "Who told you that?" And he gave me the first name, and I didn't press it. I didn't want to, that, whatever. But that's a true story. And I just felt that, and I just felt that was not a good way, not a good thing to be basing your vote on. What really concerns me and why I'm here this evening is that much of this misinformation is based on questioning with no evidence the ability and especially the integrity of our elected and appointed officials, local bankers, a local attorney, and individuals from the shelter group who have been working on this partnership. I signed the petition to put the conveyance of town property on a town meeting warrant because I believe that the garage project is the best use of this underutilized town property. I also see this parking garage as a strong first step, not the magic bullet answer, but strong first step as we work to truly revitalize our downtown area. It deserves more serious consideration. Don't get me wrong, I hope folks do continue to keep asking questions. That's what this whole democratic process is all about. But I do know, obviously, from personal experience, that it is very easy to mistake speculation for fact. And also from personal experience, I do understand how easy it can be to speculate and then end up believing one's own worst fears. I hope that the Board of Selectmen will continue to support this article, and I also hope that we can all express any concerns and also debate the issues without attacking each other, and especially without attacking the abilities, professional skills, and qualifications, or the integrity of those who have been working to make this project a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Appreciate that. Thank you, folks, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input. The next three on the public participation list is Sandy Falvey, Willie Dunbrier, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Mary Hanley. Are they here?
All set.
I'm not speaking.
Okay.
I think several of the folks were just, we're gonna just second what.
Are they in
what
support
last
of
three
the
just
last three said?
Maybe you just
All right.
mention that.
And how, Bob Mitchell?
We're at the 15-minute mark.
Hi, good evening, Bob Mitchell, 6 Spalding Street. I was going to say just a couple of words, but maybe I'll add a little bit more to it, but I'll keep it brief. I know you guys have a long night tonight. Just briefly, I do want to thank all town officials and the board members here tonight for holding the February town meeting forum and the April 1st vote. I think it was great to hear a discussion in the community, which obviously continues to this date. I think that's great. And I'm sort of, I guess, a constitutionalist. I mean, I think the first article in the Bill of Rights is the right to petition the people and citizens' right to do so. And I think just all of us can agree that reading just current events in other parts of the world, we're all blessed to have the right to petition the government, because a lot of people in other countries are envious of that right and live not as good a lives as we do. So it's been a great thing for our country. This is just obviously small petitions within Wakefield, but I do want to note that historical note. Just a brief question. As a voter, I would like to discover if any limited partnerships, corporations, or town representatives participated in this new third petition related to the construction of the garage. The two petitions I was involved in were strictly citizens and were funded by citizens. And that was sort of my quick note. And just a brief note on the prior discussions. I'm glad the process continues. Honestly, I think that's great for the whole community. I am one voter, and I respect the vote of the people. I'm a little disappointed that the vote of the people is being challenged, but I respect that honestly. So the process is fine with me. I respect both sides of the issue, and I do want the voters to speak on this. I am a little taken aback by all the prior comments, untruthful negatives, that we were disparaged. I heard a lot of commentary, but I never heard anybody actually use a number, which I try to focus on numbers personally. Please challenge them if you think they're off. By all means do. I want to learn as much about this issue as I'm sure we all do, but I was really taken aback by the disparaging comments personally. That's just not the way I do it, and if I do, I apologize for that, but I just feel those comments were, I don't get them. And just briefly, one number I'll throw out is, just as, and to close this up, my understanding is the town is spending, the taxpayers are spending about $1.1 million in the prior proposal. I don't know if the future proposal will change, to build 48 of the parking spaces. The taxpayers are spending, that's taxpayers' money, spending $1.1 million for 48 parking spaces for two corporations. I'm not for or against it, per se. I respect people making their own decision on that, but that's just basic mathematics, and that's part of this whole deal. $25,000 a space for 48 spaces. The taxpayers are spending that money. If they aren't, please let me know if that's untrue. And that's about it. Again, thank you for your time. I know you got a busy night, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Right, so what I'm gonna do here going forward, from what I understand, there's a number of names on this public participation list, but I do want to recognize them. I think the people that are here, if they do want to speak, let me know. Otherwise, I understand that everybody else that's on this public participation list is in favor of the garage and moving this forward to town meeting and as an article for the town warrant. So, thank you. Darlene Steichman, Nancy Sheehan, and Mark Cataldo. Would you like to come in and speak? No, thank you, okay. Jeff Steichman, Robert Guida, Patricia Murphy. Robert?
He's an attorney, he can't help himself.
Rob, we're running short on time, so just appreciate that, thank you.
Good evening.
My name's Robert Guida. I live at 49 Renwick Road here in Wakefield. I'm an attorney in town. I'm a real estate attorney. I worked on the committee that helped to bring this parking garage, and I watched Mr. Falvey, Mr. Mayo dedicate countless hours to bringing this project to fruition. In my time in real estate, this is probably one of the finest examples of a public and private cooperation that actually would work. I've heard all the disinformation, misinformation, conjecture, rumor, and as a citizen, as a practitioner, as a father, it was quite disturbing, frankly. And it bothered me to see that happen when progress is trying to be made. It's apparent that any parking addition, especially one that doesn't come from taxpayers' pockets, that is actually paid for in additional revenue, would be a fantastic addition to this town. People are going out of this town to go to Market Street. There's additional parking. They can't find a place to park downtown. I've heard that numerous times. I would like to suggest that anyone who is opposed to this really take a look at the numbers. I looked at them, and I cannot see where money is coming out of our taxpayer pockets. It's a fantastic transaction that's made for the progress of this town. I could understand someone being opposed to this because it's going to disrupt their lives in terms of construction and so on and so forth. I've heard that. But the other arguments that I have heard were at best disturbing and at worst truly unfortunate for the future of this town. This would be a great project. This would certainly give us a platform to really bring in a world-class, upscale change in direction for our downtown to make us a town that is even more fantastic than it is already. I want to applaud the work that was done on this. That should be said in public because it was a lot of hard work, over a year's worth of work trying to make this happen, and I can assure you there were no backroom deals on this. That is absurd. With that said, this project has my full support. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Wes Beckett, David Jacquar, and Amy Bird.
Good.
We good? Dana Bird, Susan Wetmore, and Paul Cameron. Good? Thank you. John Bexton, Alfred, and Ann. No, okay. Jacqueline Mayer, Laura Gorville, Virginia Somalis. Thank you. And Susan Ald. Well, thank you for everybody coming and joining us for this public participation for a very important issue. We take everybody's comments to heart and we look at them very seriously, so.
I think that's the most we've ever had.
Yeah.
I think it is the most we've ever had.
By a long shot.
Thanks, everybody,
Thank
for
you.
coming. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right, folks, moving on. Next matter on the agenda is the Employee of the Quarter. Steve, you want to take this one?
Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit. I don't know if Mary Deckett is here. Maybe she's getting stopped by the crowd. But as the board knows, we instituted a while ago an Employee of the Quarter award. And the two caveats that I have with my department heads is that, A, you cannot nominate any of your own employees. It has to be an employee that directly reports to another department head. And B, that it has to be something done above and beyond your normal activities. So I'm very pleased to announce that Mary Deckett in the town clerk's office will be the next employee of the quarter for the town of Wakefield, and we do have a gift certificate, so I'll need that back to give it to her. Tis, you can't give it yourself. But just so people at home can know what Mary did is that the town was kind enough to fund the critical records digitization project in the town clerk's office. There's where we took all these old records and actually put them in digital form to protect them and to keep them for future generations to look at. And Mary took over this project as the liaison in that area and working very closely with the IT department. And not only did Mary take over this, but she actually went to the vendors if she didn't like their quality, had them redo things. She accepted and embraced the new technology, and really was steadfast in her assistance that everything would be perfect and the best that we could. So this was really above and beyond her regular duties, and I applaud and congratulate her for this great award. So, thank you. And it's in the packet here, and I think that I'll pass on the thanks of the board.
Thank you. Next matter is the appointment of the temporary town clerk, Rosemary Morgan. Steve?
Yes, as the board is aware, is that there are times when our town clerk is unavailable and is not in the office, and I've talked with town council Mullen, and there are times that we need to do certain items of a statutory nature with the state and what have you, and there needs to be a temporary town clerk appointed. One might note at town meeting, recent town meeting, when the town clerk was not available, Rosemary Morgan was appointed temporary town clerk for that limited purpose. And I'd have to say, to make that office run smoother, to make us more efficient as a community, and make us do our jobs, frankly, that Rosemary Morgan be appointed temporary town clerk for the office period of time when the town clerk is not available.
Can I get a motion
So
to
moved.
approve? Second. Moved by Brian, second by Pat. All in favor? Aye. Aye, unanimous.
Thank you.
Next matter, we're gonna jump to budgets at this point. I'm gonna skip a little, Steve. That way we
Sure,
can
no
get
problem. I
everybody
don't
outta
think I
here.
got to go home early
Yeah.
anyway, so it doesn't matter.
The first budget we're gonna talk is vocational schools. Ted Nicoli from the Voc is here.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Good, how you doing, sir?
Very good. Thank you very much for inviting me in. I'm honored.
Floor is yours, sir.
It's been a long time since I think we had representation from the vocational school here.
Yes, and I gotta say that this is the first time that I can remember in 15 years that a vocational school superintendent came to meet with us to discuss their budget. Ted has been a great partner up the hill. I think that our superintendent will tell you the same thing on the educational side. Police chief will certainly tell you how great he's been in partnership with us. And he works with us in a lot of issues. He's actually talking about a capital plan up there, things that we've been talking about, and really can't say enough about the relationship we've had with the vocational school since Ted came on board. So now I'll let him talk to you. Your budget is in here, in your package.
Thank you very much. Like Steve said, I've been working with all the district town managers and financial officials to try to have an open line of communication with them, where I no longer want to be the island or the castle on the hill. We're trying to really communicate with all the cities and towns that we're involved with. So we want to be completely transparent, and we want to listen to what you folks have to say, and we want to share as much as we can with you. This year, my budget, I started out with a 5.1% increase for budget, and then I worked it with the school committee, and I made some reductions and cuts, and I found a couple of places that they had redundant things in the old budgets, and I kind of took those out, and we ended up with a 3.18 increase. So my school committee, along with Vinnie Carosella from your town, said that if I got it below 3.5, they'd be happy. So I think I made a couple of points at 3.18. So the total budget is $22,364,999, which 58.2% is salaries. Like every school system, it's usually the majority of the money, and 41.74% is non-salary items. Now, one of the things that I began working on, because of my meeting with the town managers, was a capital improvement plan. This year, I only put $25,000 in for a survey, because every time I try to figure out what the vocational school actually owns for land, the plans are so convoluted. This was taken away, that was an easement, this belongs to DCR. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is have the land surveyed and actually get a certified plot plan that isn't from 1964. And so we can at least figure out what we have. Now, I've begun, this took me one afternoon after Steve left with a capital improvement plan. And I looked and looked. When Steve asked me, he says, where's the capital improvement plan? When I first took over, I searched and searched and couldn't seem to find one. So there's a lot that has to be done. And from talking with the other business officials, it's nothing that people seem to be resentful of. They just want to know where the money's going to go and how we're planning on doing it. So I started with a 3- and a 5-year capital improvement plan. I've also been speaking to the MSBA as far as getting funding from the state for either a renovation, expansion renovation, or a new building. And I learned through them that they kind of make that decision on what we do. They say it has to be sustainable for 50 years. I said I'd be perfectly happy with a renovation and an expansion, but they said that's our decision. One thing I was very happy about is our reimbursement rate is 73%. So it's a tremendous reimbursement rate because of our low-income students and our demographics. So it is a very good bargain if we actually get to that point. Next year, I'll probably, between now and budget time next year, I'll probably be visiting you folks, looking to get money for a feasibility study. But before I ask for that, I'll have options, I'll have different ideas, and I want input from all of the selectmen and town officials. So, like I said, I want to expand the place. I want it to be modern facility. I want to add new programs so we're not losing good students to other technical schools, which costs us a fortune. For us to have kids go to another tech school for robotics or medical technology, it costs $26,000 a student. We pay for transportation. We shouldn't be losing good students to other tech schools because of school choice. So we want to expand the programs. We just started our new STEM program this year. We're going to try to work with Steve in Wakefield, and we want to gear our STEM program towards more of the vocational end of it, where Wakefield High and Saugus High will gear their STEM programs more towards the scientific end of it. Where ours, we want to start a robotics lab, a programming. We have our AutoCAD program where we do rapid prototyping. We have a plasma cam cutter. So the kids will go in the STEM Academy. They'll go into drafting and design for a week. They are apt to design this microphone. They'll draw it, then it'll go into the rapid prototyping machine. It'll actually come out made out of plastic, accurate within 10,000ths of an inch. Then they'll go over to the programming lab. They'll program a machine to actually CNC make that machine, make this out of metal. Those parts will go over to the welding shop. They'll take a flash drive. It'll go into the welding shop. It'll cut the parts out. Then it'll go into the robotic arm, weld it. It'll go into the body shop. It'll get painted and packaged. Now, my thought is I started a collaboration with Shawshene Valley Tech where we will build 50% of the parts. They'll build 50% of the parts. We'll mail the parts to each other. That's the way industry's done nowadays. Nobody builds a complete car anymore. No one builds a complete anything anymore. So our parts will have to fit their parts, and that'll be the test. And since we've begun this collaboration, 2 other vocational schools asked if they can come in on it, Whittier and North Shore. So I think it's really going to grow into something great. And hopefully with your middle school kids, your students in middle school, if they're starting a STEM program there, if there's a facility that you need, just once in a while to come up and do some of the hands-on experiments, the vocational school's available. And I'd love to share whatever we have with Wakefield.
Thank you, Ted. I'm going to open up for discussion. Anybody have any questions or?
It's a welcome, you're very welcome to be here, and where have you been all these years? This is some great stuff you're bringing up. I mean, I think there's a lot of kids who would like to go to technical school, but what's the allure? I mean, I think that the voc is maybe a little stigmatized to be simply tradespeople.
Right.
But you're talking about way beyond just tradespeople. There's a lot of different technical vocations people could explore.
Absolutely.
Right in their backyard. So hats off, and we hope to see you back here next year.
Well, thank you very much.
Phyllis?
Have we
we lost any vocations? It seems to me we had a lot of more different vocations than what we have now. Have we lost any that we could bring back?
The only
Can you
one.
give me an idea, you know, like they have, I'm thinking about the people that really want to do this. They want to cook, or they want to sew, or how are we doing in those areas?
We're doing very well. We had 623 applications so far this year, and we can only take 330 students. So that bothers me, that there's kids that want a vocational education, and we can't take them because we were built for 900 students, and we have 1,232. So we're busting at the seams. We have 2 modular classrooms out back that are full. They're scheduled all day long. And to answer your question about the vocational shops, we started with 17 in 1968, and we still have 17. So we still have culinary arts, we have cosmetology, we have health assisting, plumbing, auto body welding. They're all still there. The only one that we cut back a little bit on last year was informational systems, and that's an electronics area. And that's what we created the robotics lab out of. So, because those kids were very tuned into programming, so we're just kind of gearing them in a little bit different direction that will get them better jobs.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that, because I know a lot of people ask about that, and you've done a great job. And so that makes me feel good to hear that we're still continuing to help these children.
And one of the things we did, we started our co-op program again. The co-op program was closed for 4 years. And as soon as I became superintendent, I began the program again. And right now, I think we have 54 students out on co-op. And I personally got 6 calls yesterday for jobs. Just yesterday. In my message machine, when I went on it, 2 for carpenters, 1 for advanced machining, 1 for doing overhead doors. So I think the word's getting out to the employers that these kids are available and they come trained.
Well, I'm very interested in that because I have 2 grandsons who have fantastic jobs, great jobs, and they both graduated from Shawsheen Tech, and I can't tell you how much they learned going there.
Oh, yeah, that's a great school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, did
Yeah,
you?
can I jump in? One other thing that Ted did do was, like we did here, he negotiated and moved his himself and the teachers and staff up there into the GIC. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in our budget and think what that did here. It had the same effect there at the vocational school. So he's embraced a lot of these ideas and worked together with us. I know Rick Stinson and he worked together. Jack Roberto, the police chief. It's a real partnership up there. It's a real great success story. So I'm thrilled to be working with Ted.
And this is the home that we're building for a Wakefield resident, the Davison family.
Wow.
It's right on Montvale Ave. Right as you're going up Montvale Ave, on the second house before you get to the end, the foundation was just poured.
Montrose.
Montrose.
Montrose,
Yeah.
right.
Yes, I was wondering what was getting over there.
Montrose, yes.
Yeah, how
Oh,
So as you go by, just give a wave to the vocational school kids. So that should be, that's our next project.
Congratulations, congratulations.
So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, what I would need is a approval of the vocational school budget. And also, we do have at least a couple students going to Minuteman Regional at this point. And Essex North Shore Regional, which is a new conglomeration of the North Shore. This used to be right off our cherry sheet. But now we have to actually put it in our budget and do it differently. So the motion I'd be looking for is for vocational school education and transportation costs, a total of $1,133,639. Of that, $1,018,402 is the vocational school up the hill.
So moved.
Moved by Paul.
Second.
Second by Pat. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
your time.
And again, I'm
Thank you very
honored to
much.
be here, and anything I can do to help out, just let me know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Next matter on the agenda is the Wakefield Public Schools, the sped stabilization article. Dr. Zreik is here to present.
Good evening, everybody.
Doctor, welcome. Floor is yours, sir.
I love how you just call me doctor. Nothing else. So we're going to try to. I was told to be brief, so we're going to try to be quick here. All right, we'll wrap it up.
Can I get a motion, please?
Yep. Cut in half.
Many of you know Mike Pifferling, business manager, who's with me tonight. So I'm just gonna quickly go through, if this works here.
Maybe,
It might not be on.
Open up.
Thank you. That's why I bring Mike along. So just a quick background on our budget. We're very excited about this budget because it's involved a ton of community engagement from as far back as November. We've been at this since November, talking to our constituents, parents, our staff, and we had two community forums, if you remember. Some of you may have been there in January, and we had two staff forums where we got input on the kinds of priorities they wanted to see in our school budget. And a lot of what you're going to see tonight is feedback we received from our constituency. And then we do a lot of internal work with our principals, with members of my leadership team, the school committee, to the place that we are right now. Obviously, we had some spirited hearings in March to the point where the school committee passed, approved our budget, and now we're here tonight in front of you. But just so you know, there were some non-negotiables for us as we went into this budget. We're always trying to move our system forward and enhance the student learning experience. When we talk about 21st century learning, what does that mean? And making sure that we continue to provide students with those kinds of experiences. We want to move Wakefield from a level 2 to a level 1 district. That's a non-negotiable for us. We want to maintain our class sizes, which people have communicated to be very important. We have obvious contractual obligations that we need to address to continue to keep our staff employed and attract talented folks. And for me, the last two are really important, being forward-thinking. This budget represents not only what's good for Wakefield next year, but what we look forward into for the years to come. It's important that we think a few steps ahead. And then we really want to be responsive to our staff and to our community with this budget. So here's, for those of you that are in education, you're very familiar with the Venn diagram, but you can see what we heard from our community and staff. The three major priorities that overlap were curriculum and instructional support for teachers, improving technology, and social emotional supports for students. Mike?
Are we on already?
Yeah, we're on.
Oh, you flew through those. So when we built the budget this year, we take a look at Chapter 70, what's coming in. That's where some of the budget assumptions come from. We look at all of our grants. We made the assumptions that all grant funding will remain the same. Some will go up a little bit, some will go down, but overall it'll be level across the board. We look at circuit breaker. This year was funded at 75%. They say they're going to level fund it, which means it'll probably be funded at about 70% reimbursement. We have taken it upon the school committee a couple weeks ago. They voted to get a little stricter on the grant waiving policy. We're going to tie it to our free and reduced lunch application fee, which has multiple benefits. And when it comes off of my plate, it's a kind of a discretionary feature right now, so I'm no longer going to have to determine who's eligible and who's not eligible by criteria that may not be accurate. In addition, it'll also help our Chapter 70 numbers. The more people who are on free and reduced, kind of helps the numbers. So it's a benefit for everybody. We're looking for a special education stabilization fund. We continue to have astronomical increases in special education, so this stabilization fund will help us keep the core materials or the core spending in the education in those arenas. We're going to be looking at the town for some capital assistance on our buildings and our technology. We are keeping our kindergarten and preschool tuitions level for next year, so there'll be no increases in those. And also our athletic and extracurricular fees are going to remain unchanged. From the revenue sources, other than the Chapter 70 and the town's general fund money, we look at the IDEA, which is a special education fund, Title I, Title II, which are both federal grants along with Race to the Top funding, we're going to we're in our last year of Race to the Top, so that'll be gone next year. We have some SPED program improvement funds to help bring programs back into our schools so that we can cut down on some of these out of districts. In addition, we have a SPED allocation fund for early childhood to help us with our new early childhood center. State grants are academic support, both school year and summer. That really goes to mentoring and tutoring for students who need additional tutoring and support for MCAS and regular education classrooms. Coordinated family and community engagement, that's a pass-through that we work with 3 other communities to provide that grant in our METCO grant.
And then we have our revolving accounts. We look at our building rental fees, our food services, which I'm pleased to say that we've really turned that around this year. We're looking at a cost-neutral program this year, which is phenomenal compared to where we were last year. Wakefield Academy is our before and after school program. User fees for athletics, extracurricular clubs, drama, band, performing arts, whatnot. Transportation is really an offset. It's not a revolving, it's an offset fund. Tuition for our pre-K and K, and our cable TV funding, which pays for a couple of salaries as well as some great equipment that our program uses. So just to run through these quick, we're looking at a 5.54% increase in salaries. That is both contractual and also in additional positions that we're adding next year. Instructional expenditures are going to go up 27%. Sounds like a big percent, but the dollars are relatively small, so it's not as great as it seems, and a lot of that's in the technology arena. Operations are going up 5%, mostly utilities and that type of expenditures. And our out-of-district tuition, as well as in-district and out-of-district sped costs, going up 5.3%. Total ask for the town is going to be 5.99%. As you can see here, this is just a quick diagram on the spending by location. Just one quick point, the district programs, that's not central office, that's not superintendent's office at $6 million. That's a lot of district programs that were managed out of central office, or maybe don't have a home school based out of. Some of our educators will teach in multiple schools, so we'll put them in the district program, but they'll actually, most of their time is spent in the schools, if not all of their time is spent in the schools. So just a little clarification on that piece there. Budget increases, again, the salaries, we talked about was 5.5%. It equates to about $1.35 million. Maintenance and operations of $9,000. Utilities are costing us an additional $146,000 next year. Transportation for both in-district and special education is $47,000. Those are the highlights. Special education, $85,000 for out-of-district tuitions, and then in-district services for special education, another $12,000. Also, professional development, investing in our educators and our paras, $40,000. Instructional technology and supplies, $80,000, and curriculum adoption, which is a very small piece of where we need to get to, but it's a starting point at $20,000.
Right. I mean, you can see the shift we're trying to make toward spending on instructional support, resources, materials, technology, and away from operational costs. We have, you can see we've trimmed our operational costs. We need to continue to do that and become more efficient with what we do operationally and provide just as quality or even higher quality services. But we have to, if you look at our spending relative to other communities, we spend a lot less in teaching and learning than many of our comparable towns that the state compares us to. Just a couple of additions. Some of the things that we're adding to this budget, there's been a lot of discussion about media specialists. We want to staff our schools with media specialists, especially with the influx of technology that we're looking to bring into the schools with the new Galvin. And our libraries have been, we're shifting to calling them learning commons, but those spaces have been very graciously staffed by volunteers, and we feel like they can be much more dynamic learning spaces if we have personnel to use them, to run them. At the Galvin, we're proposing eliminating this current split team. Again, this is being forward-thinking. We have a bubble of students at the Galvin. In 2 years, we'll have big numbers in 7th and 8th grade. We're going to need to have 3 full teams at 7th and 3 full teams at 8th. So this gets us halfway there and allows us to no longer have that split team of 7th and 8th grade students at the Galvin. In order to keep kindergarten students attached to their home school, which for the first time in a long time we've been able to achieve. The Dole Bear needs an additional kindergarten teacher so that students who live in that neighborhood, kindergarten students, can actually attend school without having to go across town. We've obviously made some investments in the early childhood center, the Doyle. The staffing, the only additional staffing we need is a nurse and a food service employee to distribute lunches. And then to meet Massachusetts core instructional requirements, the high school needs a world language teacher. The other thing that I've tried to make clear, and this slide is a little fuzzy, is budget season is not only a time to add when things are good and when there's more money, and take away and eliminate when times are tough. It's also every year an opportunity to rethink how we use existing resources. And that's something that's really important, maybe hasn't historically been done by the school district in the past. So you could see we've made a number of shifts to, many of them have instructional, and I won't go through each one of them right now, but we have taken this opportunity to make lateral moves funding-wise to do what we believe will enhance the learning experience for children and provide more instructional support in our schools. And there's many, many things, and I can certainly give Steve Mayo a long list of the things that our school needs that are not funded in this, and he's heard about some of these. But there's many things that came.
So he's the bad guy? Just to make sure.
He's the bad guy.
All right.
Exactly.
So we're all
Okay.
good here. Yeah.
Remember that, write that down. Make sure that gets in the minutes.
The elder Steve has been very kind. So there's a number of things that didn't get support, and you have those in your on these slides. And these are things that in the future we're going to continue to want to look for. Some of them, the last two are particularly important, is curriculum adoption district-wide. We have a real materials issue and curriculum issue. They haven't been overhauled in a long time in this district. And with new standards coming, we've got to make sure our curriculum materials align to those standards. And the final bullet is something you've heard me talk a lot about, is full-day kindergarten and funding for full-day kindergarten. So these are just some items that didn't make it in this year's budget, along with user fees and other things that are important that we'd like to continue to tackle moving forward. The last thing and you have in your folder, you have just a brief informational sheet. One of the other things we're going to town meeting to request is a special education stabilization fund, reserve fund, and I certainly can elaborate more, but you have information in your folders. Every year, special education is a moving target for us, and they're extenuating extraordinary costs that happen every year. And what historically the school district has had to do is pull from core programming resources, from technology, from instruction, to cover special education costs. No blame toward our special education students. We have students that move in. We have students that move from less restrictive to a more restrictive placement. That can, a few students in either direction has huge implications for our budget. And it's important that we recognize that and honor that as a town, so that we can maintain the integrity of our core efforts in our schools. And I think, unfortunately, we've sacrificed in other areas because we've had such fluctuations in special education costs. So in the interest of transparency to the town of Wakefield, we want to have to go forward to town meeting every year, if the need requires, to ask for money to go into a fund, or to take money out of the fund. And that makes us more accountable. It makes us more transparent, that we have to be convincing about the need to tap into this fund. Strictly for special education and not part of our operating budget, and would have to be a yearly process. I just think that sets it up. I think that's the fair thing to do for the taxpayers of Wakefield, and puts the burden on us to be convincing about our needs moving forward. So I just wanted to call your attention to that. And finally, our capital requests. We've been working. We presented recently the capital committee. We're asking for devices in our fourth grade classrooms. We need to overhaul our technology in elementary schools because our labs are outdated. But we also want to prepare our students for the Galvin. And so the fourth grade is the year we're not only looking at refurbishing the labs, the computer labs in each of the elementary schools, but to put devices in the hands of our fourth graders, so that when they move to the Galvin and they'll have one-to-one devices there, that they'll be prepared for years to come. And then the Doyle, of course, we have a huge request for I shouldn't say a huge request, but we have a request for technology and facility upgrades. The building's actually in really terrific shape. With the support of DPW, they've maintained it, but there are some upgrades to move it. We want the building to look pristine for the opening of school, as we welcome 4 and 5 year olds, 3, 4, and 5 year olds to the school next fall. And then there's, this past year, the town put a lot of investment into our high school and some of our other facilities, and we want to continue to do that moving forward. So you can see there's a number of requests having to do with the upgrade and continuing maintenance of our district-wide facilities. And just our final thoughts here is we do think this is a bold, but we think it's a fiscally responsible budget. We think it's really responsive to community and staff feedback that we've heard. We factored in all known requirements as of February 1st, so that factors in our final ask. We made sure to account for that. We fully own that we need to continue to examine operational and programmatic inefficiencies that exist in our school district, and with the help of Chip Tarbell and a facilities task force that's currently underway, that's one of the things they're looking at is our custodial and maintenance efficiencies, and making recommendations to me on steps we can take to tighten up our operational procedures. And then ultimately, we think that this budget maximizes support for the classrooms and outcomes for students. I don't think we're all the way there. The school district has had to absorb some serious cuts during some tough times. We're very appreciative of the support we've received from all of you, from Steve Mayo, from the Finance Committee, and we're excited about this step forward in resources for our schools. And we feel like it'll begin to put the tools we need to prepare our kids for the new standards we have and to 21st century learning. And then I'd like to just throw a nice reflective quote at the end, just to keep you all thinking. But we appreciate the time to come forward tonight, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to open up to the board. Phyllis?
Where do you expect to get the money for this Article 7, the stabilization fund? Where is it going to come from?
Well, we're requesting it come from free cash.
Do we have free cash for this, or do we have to add something to free cash?
No, my understanding is that there is free cash.
There is free cash
That's
there.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been working with Mr. Mayo on this.
Okay. And the other thing that I'm most interested in, because I don't want next year or the year after for the school to come and say, we need to tear down the Greenwood School, or we need to rebuild a new high school.
Right.
To me, it's very important that we maintain those schools, and if there's any extra money, no matter where we have to get it, I want that Greenwood School really brought up to date and to do whatever we have to do for those children. And I want the maintenance of the high school in much better shape than what I see it in now.
So, Ms. Hall, I know that at a recent meeting you shared those concerns, and I'm very happy you did, because we do need to be held accountable for keeping our buildings in tip-top shape. And I appreciate hearing that, because I want the community to have a high bar for how we maintain our buildings. We have a brand-new building coming online as well with the Galvin. We need to take care of that facility.
Okay, thank you.
So I appreciate those comments.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the stabilization fund, because I think in the past when unexpected costs for special education have been high, we've pulled from other areas, which isn't fair to anybody. So I think that's an interesting way to deal with those unexpected costs. Not that you're going to go there every year, but I like that idea. And I also, like the other budgets we've seen, it's very transparent, it's detailed, it's well organized. I think you did a nice job on that.
Thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, I just had a couple of, I think I saw when you had your list of new things you're gonna fund, you had stars next to them all, and one of the stars was, I think it was blue star was staff priorities, and a black star was community priorities, and I don't think I saw a single staff priority up there. Is that?
Stuart adds stuff that's, you may not have seen it because sometimes the screen.
Oh, is it
cuts
cut
off.
off the
Yeah,
side?
yeah,
Oh, I was
sorry.
like, what happened to the staff? All right, I see it.
No, it's,
It happens to be that
Yeah,
screen
it got
doesn't
cut
cut
off.
off.
Those are the ones I saw.
Every so often I pay attention.
yeah, there you go.
All right, so a whole bunch of them. Okay.
Technical difficulties.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. I just, geez, they're really, sucking up to the community. No, that's great. And then, any idea how much we spend per pupil? And I know that there's probably 5 ways to calculate that, but how much do we spend in this town per student, versus whatever our competitive set is, if that's the right word? Do we know?
We just went over this 2 weeks ago with Gil.
Yeah, it's just over $12,000 a student is my.
So it is?
Yep.
And what does that mean, compared to whoever, Stoneham, Winchester, Medford? I mean, where are we?
You know, I'll never say, I mean, we're, you know, I think we're about average with local communities. I think I think my concern is we're not always spending, you know, I don't know that we're always, our allocations look very different than some of the communities. I think we're about average, and our performance as a community is about average when you look at state assessments. So it pretty much falls in line with that. Although I would say Reading actually is maybe a little bit of an outlier. They spend a little less, and their performance is a lot you know, higher. But typically, the higher performing communities do much better than we. You know, they spend more money than we do on our per pupil allocation.
And along those lines, I like what I heard about we're shifting the spend from operating costs to actually educating students. What are the operating cost savings? And we don't have to belabor it out of respect for time, but like what are the things you're doing to run things better? Is it through you know, sharing with other towns, that kind of thing, or are we literally just going through and finding out ways to use less electricity and things like that, which add up to all the above?
A couple of things, you know, we've renegotiated our internet, and we've actually gotten double the bandwidth up and down at half the cost. So we went out and we really invested heavily in that, or not invest, but we searched heavily for that. Dell and Microsoft licensing agreements came down by about $10,000. So that was nice for us. That was nice savings for us, nice chunk of change. We had the retrofit agreement that was funded for 2 years, and now we're winding that down where it's just now support. All of the build has been done, so it's all support now. So that's been a big operational savings. Utilities have actually gone up, so that's not a saving. That's balancing off the other side, right? So what we showed a $26,000 reduction in operating costs. You know, utilities went up, but our retrofit and our government licensing and our internet came down. So it's kind of a you know, the net of it was a $26,000 savings, but, you know.
So the operating cost savings haven't been, you know, relative to the size of your budget, haven't moved the needle really, but they're there.
Correct.
You know,
Right,
keep doing it.
And we continue to look at custodial, and then looking at how, you know, our summer work and the allocations. I mean, I think there are cost savings to be had in some of those areas. I think we've also, our website, we're actually launching a new website, and we're paying about half the cost to do it. So there's a lot of efficiencies that, you know, where slowly we'll start to be able to do some of that.
Picking up nickels.
Yeah, we also spend a lot in paper. Parents spend a lot of time filling out documents for us, and there's a lot of paperwork that time and money could be saved if we move to more of a digital workflow, which is, you know, Mike has been spearheading a lot of that work, and Elaine started that before she left, so. But more work to be done.
Yeah, that's great. Just that's it. Just overall, it looks great. As I think Ann said, the transparency gives us a lot of confidence and faith in what you're doing, and you know, looks great. Thanks.
Pat?
Well, first of all, I want to say I support the school going to a stabilization fund. It's been my pleasure working with Dr. Reich and the whole team on the Galvin Middle School transition. Steve has pushed his team very hard. We pushed the project team very hard, and for, you know, looking for results and the best results for the taxpayers' dollar. And I think we have the right person leading the charge here, and I support. Just like when Steve comes in front of us, we have to support it, and I feel the same way about the school's leadership, and I think we need to support them. One thing I want to question, with regard to the user fees you mentioned, and I've heard you talk about it before, on the same lines as the stabilization fund, what I'm concerned about is there's some families that can't afford user fees in town. Is there a possibility that we could establish some kind of fund for families that couldn't afford it? Or what do you do today if someone can't afford it?
We do have a waiver process, and it goes for against pretty much all of our revolving funds: athletics, extracurricular, kindergarten, pre-K. Trying to think what else. Before and after school program.
Right.
So if a family is in that level of income that needs financial assistance, if they qualify for going next year, if they qualify for reduced lunch, they'll get a 25% reduction on their fees, and if they qualify for free lunch, they'll get a 50% reduction on their fees.
What's a reduced lunch?
Reduced lunch is Yeah, that's a federal guideline. So if your family, depending on the number of people in your family and where you fall in their chart, if you make X amount of dollars and you have X amount, it's a chart, it's a, just a graph. If you fall into a certain area, then you would get reduced lunch. Reduced lunch is 40 cents per meal. You pay 40 cents for your meal, where our typical meal at the high school is $2.75.
So no one's ever turned away then?
No. And then we do have options in place if there's truly a poverty, somebody's, truly on the rocks, hit rock bottom. We certainly have areas that we can turn to for supports there also.
And the same goes for user fees for sports?
That is part, yeah, sports is included in that, yes.
And is there, I've heard you talk about it, is there a move to hopefully someday get rid of sports user fees?
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to move in that direction, and I know there's momentum, there's discussion in the school committee about it. I mean, it's on the radar for sure. It's one of the things that didn't quite make it in this budget, but it's, we know that can be a burden for some of our families.
It's another tax is what it is.
That's right, yeah.
So, I mean, I just hate for families to have to do that. And I understand that, these things take time. It's just something that it would be great if eventually we could do away with it.
The one thing I just want to point out is this, it applies to Chapter 70 funding moving forward. One of the things we've been very aggressive with this year, and we will be moving forward with our new waiver policy, is increasing the number of students, that the number of students who are free and reduced lunch actually reflects the need. When I first came to Wakefield, I was actually surprised with how low the numbers were, and what we've learned is, in fact, it was lower than the reality. And already, we've increased the percentage by 4%. Our October 1 rolls were 4% higher than a year ago, which means that does have an impact on Chapter 70 funding, because the more students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, we certainly benefit. But we need parents to come forward and sign up for free and reduced lunch, and now that it's tied to our waiver policy as well, we should continue to see an increase, which will reflect the true need in the town of Wakefield, which I think if you looked, it looked very out of whack to similar communities. So we should see those dividends pay off in the coming years.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Just want to thank both of you for coming here and giving us a very in-depth understanding of the upcoming budget. You did a great job, you and the school committee. Fully endorse what you're doing and support every movement that you make. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate the support. And I want to thank Steve Mayo for his support throughout this process. It's been a pleasure working with him and this committee during my. It feels like I'm a lot longer, but it's only been a few months. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yep. See you.
Does anybody want a hard copy of the budget?
They had. They
We have it on.
Almost there, yeah.
Stop spending so much on paper.
Go green. Trust me, I'm the first one. Get your bus applications back. Email.
Yeah, there you go.
Sean, I'm gonna get to you in 1 second, all right? Sharon Gilly, still here? Sharon?
Tiz, if you want, while they're coming in, you can want to jump up to,
Go right ahead, Steve.
okay? Want group insurance?
Yes,
Okay. Group insurance, which
briefly.
is budget number 46. It used to be the budget that I couldn't stand presenting because it was going up 12%, 16%. Some people can remember that. I had the numbers laced. This year, on a budget of close to $12 million, we are going up $3,507, and that is just personnel costs. This is because the GIC rate for this year will increase an average of 1%. It's an average of 1%. Some actually go down within the GIC. This budget includes $1.8 million contribution towards the town's OPEB liability. That's worked into the budget. Our current balance there is $3.7 million. The board should recall that a few years ago, our OPEB, other post-employment benefit estimate liability, was $140 million. We've trimmed that down to $70 million, and in our next revaluation, I think it's going to be even less, because we'll see the effects of the continuation of the GIC. The total budget request here is $11,948,443, with $10,630,275 coming from the tax levy, $254,695 from the water enterprise, $179,089 from the sewer enterprise, and $884,384 coming from the gas and light enterprise. It's become my favorite budget.
Discussion.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Pat, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Sharon?
Hi,
How we
I'm your
doing?
library director.
Yes.
So-
The floor is yours.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Madam Chair. Did we vote? You're so friendly. We didn't vote on the school budget.
You don't.
You don't? Oh,
No, you
okay,
don't.
all right.
No.
Newbie here.
call
I
it.
thought,
No.
all right, sounds
Thank you.
good.
Under the charter, they only need to present it to you under the charter.
All right, I've been watching.
That's okay. Sharon?
Thank
Floor
you.
is yours.
Okay, so I'm your library director, and I think you all know Harold Regan, who's library trustee and chair of our budget committee, and Kevin Scanlon, who's chair of the board of library trustees, and Catherine McDonald is the library's assistant director. And I want to thank you all for making time for us tonight. We have a budget request that complies with the 5% cap on increases, and we have it in part because Steve Mayo helped us get there. We were able to cut our telephone costs in half because the town's current telephone system is a lot more economical than it used to be. And Steve also volunteered Rick to remove snow from our parking lot. So that will help us out considerably. Those were two savings. I'd like to take 5 minutes to talk about two particular things in our budget. One is the materials, and the other is furnishings. So starting with materials, in this current year, FY14, we had a nice increase in our materials budget, and we were able to do some good things. We added consumer reports online, and that was used by residents 57 times in March. We added to our budget for downloadable books, and we had 820 checkouts last month of downloadable books. We're buying more electronic games and illustrated novels. We stopped charging a rental fee for children's DVDs. I was really relieved to be able to do that. And now we're about to buy more books for the summer reading program. That makes us happy, and the school department will be pleased as well. Our children's librarians are meeting with the literacy specialists about that this week. Still, the gap between what the library materials budget should be and what it is significant. The trustees originally requested a book budget that meets the state minimum standard. We're supposed to spend 12% of our total budget, or $173,000 on materials to remain certified, and the amount that's in this budget before you is $140,000. So we have a $33,000 shortfall and a gap to close, which we'll do by using our state aid and by continuing to charge adults for some popular materials. And we just won't buy some things that we'd like to buy, like more books on the solar system and animals of the world and dinosaurs for kids. But we will make the state certification requirements. I have no doubt about that. Our annual progress at closing this gap has been tortuous. We'd really like to put the books and materials budget on a basis where every year it's just a simple calculation of how much the increase needs to be, instead of every year trying to arrive at that point where it's adequately funded and getting half of what we ask for and hitting it again next year and getting half of what we ask for. But two communities that we regard as comparable to Wakefield would be Reading and Danvers, and that is what they do. They just look at their budget and they put in 12 or 15%, and that's what they put in for their book budget. At the time I was drafting this budget, Reading was carrying $210,000 for books and materials, and Danvers $180,000. So what we would really like to have is not outrageous. We had a fully funded book budget at one time. It was about 10 years ago, and we'd love to get back there. The second item I'd like to talk about is furniture. That's the $2,000 item that's hanging out without any line item number attached to it on your cover sheet. After we did all the addition, we added $2,000. And that's because last year we requested $5,000 for furniture in our capital budget. The request wasn't funded last year, and this year we were told that the capital planning committee will not consider furniture as capital. Now, that may be a very reasonable decision. I do wonder what makes furniture that different from equipment. But the library resubmitted its furniture request this year in the operating budget. We need to reupholster 55 reader chairs. This is furniture used by the public. They're just worn out. We requested $5,000 to replace the upholstery and realized that that has to be within the 5% cap. So it's upholstery or staff, it's upholstery or books. Furniture is a material need that's going to prove highly variable from year to year and from department to department. Judy Luciano tells me that the senior center is going to need furniture next year, chairs specifically. So she said, good luck, you figure out how it's done. I don't know how many she needs, but when I step back and I consider this, the DPW doesn't need a lot of furniture for its operations, and life cycle replacement would represent a very small part of their budget. The library accommodates 800 to 900 people a day, and most of them use the furniture. Life cycle replacement costs represent a much larger percent of our budget. And the Council on Aging budget, which is about $200,000, I have no idea how they're going to absorb the cost of furniture. I can't imagine how they're going to offset it. It's going to be like the elephant and the boa constrictor. My point is, we don't have a reasonable way to accommodate furniture in the town right now. This year, we propose just buying the fabric for the public chairs, and we'll address the labor next year. This strikes me as kind of silly, but it's, taking one bite out of the apple. We don't think it's a logical arrangement to try to do this at the expense of books or staff. It's going to be a recurring problem for some departments. Furniture is a recurring expense, but not a regular operating expense. So if it's not capital, and we can't fit it into an operating budget without exceeding the cap, maybe there's some third way that we should devise, maybe a separate line item that's exempt for a budget cap, or a separate town meeting article, I don't know. But we are requesting $1,447,028 plus $2,000 that's exempt from the 5% cap so that we can upholster our chairs over 2 years, and we're asking that the larger issue of life cycle replacement for furniture be addressed. Thank you.
Open up for discussion. Pat?
Sharon, thank you, and thank you for the informative statistics that you forwarded to all of us. I'm just looking at the budget, personal services, $1,070,129 for personal services. Can I ask how that stacks up against other towns? You compare a lot of what we do to other towns. I'm just curious for staffing, how a library of similar size would compare for personal services fees.
Did I give you a chart on FTEs per capita? Because that might answer your question. I know I had one, and I had to make some selections.
I have annual visitors per non-custodial FTE, annual circulation.
All right, maybe I didn't then. Our FTEs per capita are, if I recall, are not out of line at all. I can't remember if they pin around, I think they pin around average. But I'll be happy to pull out that chart and send it to you.
I'm just curious, because,
Yeah.
I mean, typically, when you talk about capital improvements, typically in buildings, capital improvements are something that will add value to the building. Furniture, FF&E doesn't usually roll into capital. It usually comes straight out of operating costs, refurbishment of furniture and so forth, things like that. But, so I'd be interested to see how we stack up to other towns with regard to staffing. Before I add.
I've got it, I can give it to you.
Before I add, I would be in favor of adding any more money to our operating costs, so.
Anybody else?
I think, if you don't mind my saying, that some of the graphs that I gave you would at least demonstrate that the staff we have is proving itself considerably more productive than it is in comparable communities. So I'll give it to you per capita.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at our measures of use compared to other libraries,
Okay.
I think that the ratio of staff to visitors, circulation, reference questions, programs is actually lean.
Yeah, I would love to see the numbers. I just don't know
Yep.
how libraries operate.
Yep.
And, I mean, as far as staffing and numbers like that go, how much, is $1 million cheap, or is it, are we high? I don't know.
We are about average.
Anybody else?
So, Tiz, right now, if I'm looking at this correctly, it's what, 58.75 more than that you're asking for? $5,875? Is that right? Am I looking at this right?
I'm
Your
not sure
budget-
what
your
you're
budget-
referring to
Your
there.
budget, your overall budget is $1,070,128.87.
1,447,000.
47,028.
Where am I? I'm on the wrong page?
It's right here. 1,447,028.
Okay, maybe what am I looking at here then? I'm sorry. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, that was by department. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So right now, the only thing that you're asking for right now that you don't is you want to add in the fabric for the chairs this year.
Yes, please.
And then next year you try to come back in again and do the maintenance? Is that what it is?
We'll get the labor
The upholstery.
this year.
Personally, I'd be in favor of supporting the budget increase that the library is proposing here. I think that the library is equal, if not a little bit greater than our schools, and we religiously support our schools. I think that we should be in full support of the library as well. So I don't have an objection to going with the addition, seeing that there's no mechanism in place right now for the replacement or repair of chairs. So I'm not sure if I have to make that in a motion.
No, we can make the motion. I just had a couple, go ahead, Phyllis.
I myself personally am not in favor of giving any more money to the library, adding any more money to the library. In 2013, donations were $65,731. It's only now the beginning of 2014, and it's already $10,144. What do you people do with this money? I'm not in favor of giving any more money. Why can't we do what you have to do with all this donations?
Well, some of that donations comes from the Friends of the Library, and there's also a sizable amount in there that actually was a transfer from the Chamber of Commerce from Blossoms at the BB. So those donations have funded Plaza Jazz. They've funded a lot of our programs. They've bought about $16,000 worth of additional books, about $5,000 worth of museum passes. We also have a brand-new seating area on the first floor, which is proving to be very well used. It was paid for entirely by donations. So, I mean, it all goes into the library.
Well, I just feel as though there must be a better way for the library to handle this money so that you don't have to come back and keep asking us for more money, because the money's there, use it. Don't you get a donation from the Boyd Home also?
We did get a donation from
Right.
the Boyd Home, yes.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and it all supplements the town's appropriation for the library.
Well,
It all goes into supporting the kinds of activities in that packet that I sent to your homes.
well, I myself will not vote to give any more money at this time because I really think that you have sufficient money there to do what has to be done.
Sharon, I have a couple questions. The funds that you receive from gifts, do you use that money to get to your certifications? Use a portion of that to get to your certification?
Yes.
Yes. And what would the labor cost to reupholster these chairs? Do you know?
3,000. They need to be, the webbing, the foam, the rails need to be rerouted, so it's not just a matter of popping the seat off and stapling new fabric.
So how much of for this past year, fiscal year 2014, how much of that, the gifts that you received, go to the certification, and what was left over after that, do you know?
No, I can't answer that question right off the top of my head. I can tell you that the $16,000 we got from Blossom went to the certification. Some of the money from the Friends of the Library goes to the certification. I'd have to tally it all up. Would you like a list of
Well,
some
no,
of the things we
it's,
bought?
I'm just, the point I'm trying to make is that if you need I forget the amount that you need for certification, was it
170, 175, 73.
173,000.
Thank you.
Right. Once you get, and your request was what, 140 or something like that? And you took in about 65,000 in gifts. So you're talking a difference of about $30,000. And then, so you had all that other money that I know that you used for other things. But maybe it's if things are starting to get worn, maybe that money could be earmarked for, this kind of stuff.
I started this budget, you may find in the contents here, a line item that had staff chairs in it, because, a lot of our staff chairs we didn't replace when we renovated the building. We need new staff chairs. The hydraulics are given away. And I took it out, and it's gonna come out of gifts and donations. It's not like we're not using it for things that we already need.
Right. All right.
So, all the summer reading program, at one time, we used to have our state aid available to us to fund that. That's about $7,500 a year to do that, with all the materials we buy and the performers that we hire to come in. And now all the state aid goes to supplement the book budget. And so we've been drawing on the Friends to do that and to fund Plaza Jazz. The Friends are out of money. So it's a little bit like a house of cards, and we need to get every pot on its own bottom here.
Paul, did you want to make a motion? Or, Ann, did you have something?
Well, as someone who uses the library, years ago with my children I used it, now I used it to grade. So I sit in the chairs and I grade quietly. It's quieter than my house. I think, to go off what Phyllis said a few moments ago, which I'm going to disagree with her today on the library, I think maintenance is important. The library is a beautiful building, and I don't think $2,000 for upholstery is out of whack. I can appreciate what you're talking about certification. We just went through this at my law school with regard to hiring a new library director, so I feel like I know a lot about libraries that I never knew before, being on the committee. And certifications is a big deal. Has certification changed with the amount of books necessary in light of a digital age with municipal libraries? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, the definition of materials is certainly broadened.
Okay.
Materials, used to be just hard.
Just hardback.
Yeah.
Okay. So the materials is what's included.
Yeah, it encompasses a lot more.
So I would be in favor of the upholstery because I think it's important to keep it looking nice. The one question I did have, I haven't been to the upper stacks in a while. I was getting a book within the last year. But is there any discussion to rethink the, there's certainly books there that probably are completely unnecessary and not used. I'm not criticizing at all. I'm just thinking it is happening so quickly, the digital age, with regard to research and things like that. And I was just curious if there was a discussion among the library or the board to rethink certain shapes. Libraries are no longer just, they're information centers, their technology is such a big part of it. So I was curious.
So most of our electronic books are bought through the North of Boston Library Exchange, so that's done collaboratively. And our head of reference serves on a committee that is doing pilot projects to try to get a statewide project going for electronic materials. So that's one small piece of your answer. When it comes to databases, a lot of that is done individually. Some of it, a lot of times an organization like the North of Boston Library Exchange will try to get the good price. They'll negotiate for us. And then libraries that want to participate step up, and those that don't, just don't participate in that program. We are definitely using the building differently than we used to.
Sure.
We put in a new seating area, and it's not a quiet area, and it's on the main floor. And so we use it to do technology assistance with people. We find that we're doing more and more reference that involves people who have devices and they cannot get them to work. And so we needed an area where we could sit next to sometimes upset and distraught people and do some instruction. And we would like to use it for discussion groups come fall. We're also doing a whole lot of programming in our lecture hall. And I know that some community groups are a little dismayed about this because our lecture hall is usually heavily booked by community groups. And when we're providing the programs, it's not available to them. But we have had very good results from that, as you can see from the bar charts that I gave you. In terms of eliminating something like the collection on the second floor,
Not
I think the
eliminating,
day
but
will
just
come.
thinking.
Yeah, it gets weeded constantly, but I think the day will come, but I don't think we're there yet. We still, that's still more of our bread and butter than you might think.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Sharon, I will add that where that new seating area is, that was a reference collection.
Oh, okay.
That is now all digital.
Great.
So that space has been opened up by digital databases and things. That, if you remember where that seating area is
Yes.
now, those were all stacks.
Right.
Yeah. So it is going that way.
Anybody else?
Tiz, I'll make a motion then, that we move the budget from 1447028 to 1449028 to include the $2,000.
Motion by Paul. Anybody got a second it?
Second.
Second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries.
I'm
All opposed?
Yep.
I'm opposed.
I'm opposed.
4-2.
Probably get that $2,000 in a donation within the next 2 months, and here we are, gonna give it to them.
Probably in the next
You
5
can't
minutes.
guarantee donations, though, Phyllis.
I think you're gonna get it in the next 5 minutes, but.
Just for clarification, we'll add that to the materials and supplies line item.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're done? Thank you.
Is that donation $2,000 we're looking at?
No, it's close. It's close, yeah. Kind of lost track. Steve, you want to go back up to extra pay period and then
Sure,
do that?
that's really
Yeah.
quick. The board did, at the last meeting, approve the extra pay period of $732,000 and some change. In meeting with the Finance Committee, it was their suggestion that we move that number to $740, just in case there is some overtime or something, whatever we don't expend would go back to the general fund anyway. So I would appreciate if the board would go with that suggestion from the FinCom and go with the $740. We have a motion.
Motion to approve the increase to 740 for the extra pay period, 740,000.
So moved.
Moved by Paul,
Second.
second by Phyllis. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Warrant articles. Capital planning.
For joy, for joy.
Sean?
Let's see how fast you can get through, Sean.
Steve, do you want to project that I can hand out copies or?
You can hand out copies, yeah, that, I gotta get it early to WCAT.
Sean, the floor's yours.
Thank you very much for your time, I appreciate it. I just feel I should quickly go over the process as to how we account for the amount that we're suggesting to spend this year. From a real high level, all department heads submitted their request to the town administrator's office, and there's a list compiled and it's prioritized. And it's readjusted until it's down to the limit suggested by the town administrator earlier in the year. And the capital planning committee reviews and guides Steve and his department heads, and at the end, we host any and all department heads that want to last minute requirements or emphasize certain needs, and then we vote. Typically, we've narrowed it down to the point, just recently. We've gone from several million down to this year's budget $2 million, and there's very little debate about what can be adjusted at that point. But there is an opportunity to do that. So, real high level, that's the process. So, I'm going to apologize up front because the presentation is going to be relatively short. Mr. Stinson took a little wind out of my sails this year because if you looked in the book, he actually put a little description, and there goes my thunder, so that's okay. I'll just do several highlights of what we approved.
We don't mind, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Greatly appreciate it.
So page 2, the agenda, very typical as I present each year. Prior leases, fleet, facilities, roads and miscellaneous. Actually, it should say roads, parks and miscellaneous, information technology, and the water and sewer enterprise accounts. Page 3, prior leases. This is a sum of, or a breakdown and sum of what we owe to this point that we actually take up front off the top. And this year, we need to pay leases in the amount of $637,755. And you can see there's a breakdown, IT of $432, school of $26,000 plus, and DPW fire leases of $179,227. Fleet this year, the request is a total of $376,245. The highlights include our typical 3 police cruisers that'll be replaced with the new SUVs you see around town, a replacement of a 1996 MT trackless snowblower, and replacement of 4 other DPW vehicles that are used 6-7 days a week and are in desperate need of replacement. Next page, facilities, and this is actually,
What is the detective's vehicle? Sorry.
what is a detective's vehicle?
You will never know.
That's the point.
It's a used car.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, used car.
Yeah, it's.
Used,
found a
unmarked car.
Yeah, they found a used one that was in very, very good shape, and it's not heavily used, so we decided to use one.
From behind
Save some
Jeffrey's
money.
Liquor?
I'm sorry?
From behind Jeffrey's Liquor?
Yeah.
Water?
Moving right along.
And this year, I'm actually a little happy to state that facilities on the next page, is actually our highest amount that we're gonna be spending this year. It's $815,000, $815,500. And it's by far the highest category. And I can't obviously go into all of the line items, but a few highlights include at the high school, we're continuing to replace windows that are currently plexiglass and they're falling out and leaking. We're upgrading 2 bathrooms located off the high school cafeteria, 1 man, 1 woman. And we're also continuing to replace lockers at the high school and complete the water bubble replacement program, which was a big hit this year. At the Doyle, we're upgrading and updating required space to support the school's request, as you saw earlier with the school department presentation. That actually this is included in 2 sections. It's not just facilities and painting and upgrading the sprucing up the area, but also IT as well. So there's actually 2 line items. Other projects include continuing efforts to upgrade the school security, which actually, namely, the classroom locks. They're very old and basically, I guess I won't say more than that, but they genuinely don't work as they should.
Sean, what's this heating, what's this heating project for $100,000? The bottom of the page?
Townwide,
Okay.
townwide repairs and upgrades as we go along. Townwide, school-wide, everything.
Which one was that, Pat?
Second.
So it's okay.
Oh,
Steve
second to the
just-
bottom.
Steve just
I got it.
answered.
I got it. All right, sorry. Thank you, Steve. The other projects include continuing, like I said, continuing efforts to upgrade the school security. The start of upgrading windows and flooring at the senior center, and the beginning of a multi-year project to upgrade the North Ave DPW buildings. And just as a note, no improvements have been done to these buildings in over 30 years, so it's more than anything. We're also continuing work needed at the library, namely masonry work outside. The last item, sorry?
What's GWS as a building?
Greenwood.
Oh, Greenwood School, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find Galvin, so just making sure there's no Galvin on there.
No Galvin.
All right. I never know.
He already checked.
I already went through it.
Steve tried to slip that in, we nixed that one.
No,
Last,
there's 2,000 less to give them now, though.
The last item of mention is providing a separate dorm area for women at the Greenwood Fire Station. It has been used in a co-ed manner up to this point, and obviously there are issues with that. Next page, roads, parks, and miscellaneous. Total spend of $170,500. And I have a couple of highlights. One is a visual warning sign in the public service building, the exit onto Princess Street to improve pedestrian safety. Apparently when the police come out, Death trap. Replacing the Wallsfield baseball backstop, which if you have ever been to a baseball game, you realize it's got a big, nice moon shape to it, and it's really needs to be replaced. And replacing the J.J. Round playground equipment, which is in essence matching a $25,000 donation to complete the full replacement of the equipment. And information technology. This has a lot of line items, and the spend is $158,890, but it's important to note that that is deferred until 2016, and Steve can actually elaborate more on that if you want to know more why it's deferred. But one of the large highlights, and Dr. Zarek actually pointed out, or similarly, the school system put together a well-thought-out and thorough strategic IT plan that enables the capital planning to support their IT needs. This year, they've asked for 12 sets, which equates to 390 units of Google Chromebook tablets with Chrome management. This will help help supply the whole 4th grade and all schools with a device.
Does that take care of that parks testing and that stuff too?
Exactly.
Is it?
That's the whole, the majority of these will be used for park as well. So one of the concerns was that park is only 2 weeks of the year. What about the rest of the year? They actually have a plan to actually use them for the rest of the year. So, and I believe last but not least, water and sewer. Total of $391,500 for fiscal year 2015. And 3 highlights. Need a new backhoe for each department. They have been on the replacement list for many years. And bottom line is, one is a manufacturer that we can't get new parts for anymore, or even replacement parts, and it's breaking down all the time. And the other one is literally falling apart as they're using it. They've both got to be replaced, and they've been on that list for a long time. And the second highlight is Main Street line gates, and this is a little harder to describe, but basically it's putting in shut-offs along Main Street in case there's another water issue like we had a few years ago. And the last one, new hydrant replacements. You'll start to see new red, actually I should say, I believe red hydrants popping up. And that is my story. I kept my word, nice and short.
Thank you, Sean. Open up for discussion.
I only have one question on road, parks, and miscellaneous. Are we following Boston's lead in putting baby grand pianos out in the street so that people can play them at their will? Where's the piano going? And does it really cost $30,000?
My living room, no. It does, yes, it does cost that much, and actually, Mr. Mayo can elaborate a little more, but bottom line is it was not covered under the, in the
FF&E.
FF&E part of the Galvin, and they did it, so, in other words, they need new instruments, and actually, this is actually only the grand piano. There are others that we didn't cover.
I thought Steve was gonna do music lessons in his own house.
I am, in my spare time.
Okay. I was just curious, because on the parks and roads, I was just curious what we're doing outdoors.
They actually asked for more that really didn't fall into capital, but this is an item that really falls under that category.
Very good. Thank you.
Brian?
I just had a quick question on parks too. The JJ Rounds playground money, I forget, how much money did the town put into the Moulton Park project?
Oh.
Was it none?
None on Moulton.
None was all-
None was fundraised.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
geez, somebody should have told them, they just had to ask. Interesting. Well, they did a wonderful job on that, so, and I'm glad to hear there's, that was
Well, I
essentially a
don't know,
match to
at
other
the time,
other
at the
private-
time, I don't know how much money was available
Yeah.
at that time. It was a very tough economy. They took it on themselves. They didn't want to wait, and God bless them.
No,
They
it
did
was
themselves.
wonderful, it was wonderful. Lisa Crane and that, did a great job on that, but, I was just curious since I saw it in here. It's great, I'm all for it all, it's all good, yep.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I would need a motion of approval of the capital plan for $2 million from the tax levy, $142,000 from the sewer division, and $249,500 from the water division as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Can I make one comment?
Absolutely.
Actually, 2 comments. One, first of all, I want to thank the board for supporting. Each year, we've been able to incrementally go up, and this year it was $2 million. And the first year I was on this board, a few years ago, it was just over $300,000. And I remember thinking, we can't go anywhere. And we've been able to make a lot of strides, but at the same time, if you look at what's in here, what we're replacing, we're replacing 1990s vehicles that are falling apart. We're still at a point where we've got a long way to go. I just want to make sure that was clear. We're not at a point where we're spending frivolous in any regard. We're still trying to recapture over time lost, I guess is the only way that I can put it, just so you know. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Sean does a great job with that committee, too, very thorough.
Thank you, Sean.
The senior tax work-off program, Steve?
Yes, as this board knows, this board created a few years ago the Senior Tax Work-Off Program, where we take our valued seniors and let them do some work for the town, which I think they find very rewarding, and we offer them a tax reduction of up to $500. We've had people stuff envelopes, people clean sewer grates, people take pictures of property for Victor. We have a photographer does that, so it's a great program. I think the seniors really like it. We get a lot back from them too, but we do have to fund it, and it's $20,000.
Can I get a motion to approve the $20,000 budget for the article for the
So
senior
moved.
tax
Second.
work-off.
So
Moved
moved.
by Pat, second by Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Wakefield
Wakefield Building Trust is the yearly rental payment
Right.
for the use of the land off of off of Center Street, going into the town garage for $5,650. That is the tax, returning the tax on that, not garage. That was a into the town parking lot.
So, that's a question.
Discussion. Brian?
So, Steve, this is money we spend every year. We spend $5,650.
Yes, well, it escalates every year.
And every year it grows?
Yes.
Just to be able to access our land
Yes,
downtown?
yes,
Because it's landlocked?
yes,
Okay. So that would go away if we
yes.
didn't have our, and that would be $5,650 to the good for the town of Wakefield if we were
Exactly.
able to make that go away.
Yes.
Just want to make sure we're clear.
Can I get a
I approve. I move we,
motion to approve the article
Second.
for Wakefield Building Trust for $5,650? Moved by Brian, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Stabilization, Steve?
Yes, every year I try to put some money into stabilization fund, and I remember the words of Phil McCarty 20 years ago at town meeting, begging the town to put $50,000 into it. It's kind of our rainy day fund. Takes 2/3 vote to put in, 2/3 vote to take it out. We've been fortunate the last few years. I'd like to keep this going at around 3% of our operating budget, to keep that in there. So this is around 3% of our operating budget, so it's $250,000.
Discussion?
So moved.
second.
Moved by Pat, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Debt service.
Debt service account. The debt service account is the account by which we pay our bonds. And each year, we appropriate money at town meeting into the debt service fund, and then the debt service pays our bonds. Our bonds out on the Dolbear School, the Woodville School, the Public Safety Building, the Senior Center, the Town Hall, the recreation work that we just did. Out of our regular tax levy, we're looking to, and we have this level funded, $2,872,000. The first million comes right off the top, so at town meeting, we put in the other 872,000, but I kind of tell you the whole amount here. That goes in, and if we keep this program, in about 10 years, we will build up that fund. That fund will have over $9 million in it that we can use in the next project. And that was what part of we were doing it for. The other half of it is the debt exclusion. Debt exclusion amount is $2,375,096, which is really exactly what we told town meeting a few years ago for the full price of the Galvin School. So I'd be looking for both of those in the way of a motion.
Can I get a motion to approve the debt service article for the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Phil, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Sale of town land, citizen petition, Brian.
Yeah, I guess, I think, what was the number, Steve? Is it 300 signatures? About 300?
About 300, yeah.
So a petition has been filed by a citizens group. I don't think any of the selectmen actually signed it, but there's a citizens group is formed that filed a petition to have the, basically the same matter that was defeated in the referendum on April 1st, placed onto the regular town meeting. So opportunity to, right that wrong for those of us who think it was wrong. And, it's led by a group of people who are concerned citizens and want to make sure they have a chance to get, as you heard tonight, there was about 25 of them showed up here to speak in favor of it and in support of it. They want to get the right message out there and the truth about the projects out and let people make an informed decision. So, kudos to them, and that's what's on. It'll be placed on the referendum. And Steve, I don't know if we have to take any action, because I think it automatically goes on the referendum.
Will automatically be going on the referendum, yes.
Right.
So we don't need a motion then, Steve?
No, you do not.
What's that, Brian?
Yeah.
Discussion, anyone? No. Next matter, rezoning of land on Crescent and Main Streets, the citizen petition referral the same to the planning board. Steve, you gonna
Yes,
talk to this?
Well, this is a zoning matter, because it is rezoning of those parcels of land. That needs to be referred to the planning board for public hearing.
I move we refer the matter to the planning board for a
Second.
public hearing.
Moved by Brian, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Steve, you wanna do these together, the Veteran
Sure.
Relief Fund and the Veteran Memorial Fund?
These are two, I wanted to highlight these for the board to show what our veterans agent is doing since we combined with Melrose and Saugus and Wakefield, our three communities now. Our veterans agent is always looking for ways to raise money to help the veterans out. And they do a lot of fundraisers, and that gets a little bit burdensome on them. They don't really have the staff. What he would like to do is within our tax bills, either on the bill or with a separate mailing with our tax bills, is actually ask people, would they like to donate to a Veterans Relief Fund, which would be for veterans and their services Veterans Relief, or would they like to donate to a Veterans Memorial Fund, which would go to take care of the veterans' memorials. This is purely voluntarily. It's like checking off on your taxes that you want to give money for campaign finance or what have you. It's extra that you would pay. I met with the tax collector, and we will work that out with our Munis program to make that work. So I think it's a great idea. It's being sponsored by the Veterans Advisory Board. This board certainly does not need to take a vote on it because it's a separate board that did that, but I would suggest that this may be something that we want to endorse.
Can I get a motion?
I move we endorse both of the veterans, the Relief Fund and the Memorial Fund programs.
Second.
Moved by Brian, second by Pat. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Next matter is the approval of the annual town meeting warrant. There's actually gonna be two motions that we're gonna need to take on this. Motion to approve the town meeting warrant, and the second motion is gonna be to amend the date for town meeting from May 12th to May 5th. Is that correct, Steve?
That's correct, pursuant to the charter.
Pursuant to the charter, right. Steve, you wanna address this, or you?
Sure. The warrant is 27 articles long, which is, I guess, average. The first two articles on the warrant, and this will be available for publication, I guess tomorrow, we can get this up on the website, once it's been approved. First article will be the article change the zoning on Crescent Street. And the second article will be the sale of the town land. So we'll take two citizen petitions up in the beginning, let people know when they need to get there. They don't need to wait, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They'll know they'll be the first two items on the agenda. And then we'll go into our budget and what have you, and we will end up where there'll be probably us and about 7 other people in the crowd. Article 27 will be the zoning change for the medical marijuana dispensaries. But I think there's a lot of good stuff in here, and I'm proud of the Board of Selectmen and the package we're putting forward for the town, so. And because of the charter, charter says the town meeting needs to be within 30 days from the first Monday in April. I think an item that handcuffs the selectmen in setting dates. I'd rather see it later because we know more from the state. But, so the latest we could do it would be the 5th, so we need to do it the 5th of May.
So those are the two motions. Can I get a motion to?
So moved.
Moved by Ann, second by Paul. All in favor? Aye, unanimous. All right. There's a request from Wakefield Little League to hold the opening day parade on Saturday, April 26, 2014, starting at 10 a.m. from the town common and ending at the Fernald Field, and also to invite the board members and town administrator Steve Mayo to participate in the opening day ceremony. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Moved by Brian, second by Paul. Can I get a motion to approve Steve's birthday as well? All in favor of
Aye.
I'm opposed to Steve's birthday.
Where else would I want to spend it? And you guys at the Little League field, right?
The first motion was unanimous, for the record. Thank you. There's a request from John J. McCarthy, Town Treasurer, to transfer the amount of $353,045.88 from the town's capital project account to the general fund so that the bond payments can be made on April 15, 2014. And let me just go through each one, each bond payment. Galvin interest, $207,934.38. The Dolbear interest, $38,387.25. The Woodville interest, $2,362.50. The Woodville interest, $94,439.25. And the senior center interest for $9,922.50. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Paul.
Second.
Second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. is the almost $2,000 that Sharon needed. Request from Sharon Gilly, Director of the Lucius Beebe Memorial Library, to accept and expend a gift or gifts to the library in the amount of $1,564.26 with thanks. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Paul, second by Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Advance of funds in lieu of borrowing, report for the purchase of a fire truck. Steve?
Yes, as people know, the fire truck, which was approved at town meeting, geez, I guess it was almost 2 years ago now, is in Massachusetts. It's being completed. In fact, I hope at our next couple meetings, we'll get you guys all to see it, because it really is something.
I'd like a ride on it.
You want to ride on it,
Yeah.
I know. But anyways, we will be bonding the
Doing the
payment of
bill.
that, as you know. However, we need to pay the builder, I guess the contractor for it first. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna expend some money in lieu of the borrowing. Just, it's really a financing, housekeeping order that I would need the board approval to do that, and I have some forms for you to sign.
Can I get a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Moved by Ann, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Banners. Paul?
Thank you, sir. As you see on your screens, we have come up with a concept right now for approval by this board. We have worked with the savings bank back and forth on the design. The savings bank has once again stepped to the forefront and has shown that it is definitely here for the long haul in regards to being a community supporter of all the endeavors that we bring forward. The Main Street program initially requested of the bank for their involvement, and so they, once the design was settled on and agreed to by themselves and by this board, they are prepared to donate approximately $12,000 towards the cost of the first banners that we buy. So that would be 75 banners purchased of these three, for a total of these three designs. So 25 of each. I think this is something that will go a long way to starting the enhancement to the downtown and making it more appealing to those who come to visit us. I think it's a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Paul. Discussion on this matter?
I like them.
I like them
Yeah.
too.
I
Looks
like
great,
them
nice
too.
job, Paul.
They look great, Paul, thank
I
you.
think they look awesome.
Thank you.
Great job, pal.
Yeah, and make it clear for the people at home, Paul, that the bank is footing the bill for this. The
Yes.
savings bank.
The savings bank is donating the $12,000.
Yeah.
And how much are we paying?
We're paying absolutely nothing.
I like it
Absolutely-
even more.
Absolutely nothing. They have stepped, once again, they have stepped forward and they've even,
Sounds like a backroom
they've
deal.
even, and Brian McGrew actually went one step further, if you would give me just a
Kubrick?
second.
Brian McCoubry?
Yes, what'd I say?
It was close.
Thank you. They're not looking for any of the sponsorship funds returned. Anything that is raised should be directed back towards the Main Street program and/or to fund the next set of banners. So they're actually
Great.
stepping fully behind the whole program and moving in the right direction for us. So I'm not sure if we need a motion.
Yeah, we do need a motion. Can I get a motion to approve the banners as they're listed here on our screen, as
So
shown
moved.
on our screen?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Pat, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Steve, just to get back on this, this banner thing, any more movement from the Wakefield Municipal Gas on the light?
You know
poles?
what?
Yes.
Yes. They have a plan. I haven't seen it, but I think there's 49 poles that they're replacing, and they're gonna do, starting the next 13, so we're making some progress.
So when are they gonna start this?
Soon, I'm told.
Soon.
In downtown?
Downtown, yeah.
It has to be soon because they're saying that the banners have to be attached properly.
Right,
Yeah, soon, I'm told.
that's fantastic, that's great news, thank
So we
you.
have to spend like $500,000 in polls to put up our $12,000 free banners.
Well, the poles in the downtown are pretty old.
You gotta do that anyway.
No,
Yeah.
they actually, I remember talking to them, they said there's a serious safety issue with how they have to work on them.
That's
Actually,
right.
There's not enough room to put your hands in and actually work on these really old poles without, like, dying. So they thought it was a good idea to replace them. And I think it's wonderful for downtown.
Yeah, it's just another step in the right direction.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. License permits and approvals. Request from Susan Shea for a one-day liquor license for the Wakefield High School class of 1969 for September 20, 2014, from 7:30 PM until 12:30 PM at the Crystal Community Club. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Phil, second by Ian. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. There's a request from David Corbett for a one-day liquor license for a fundraising event on Sunday, June 1st, 2014, at the Crystal Community Club from 6 PM to 10 PM. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ian, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. New license request from Asiful Islam for a common victual license for Subway, 384 Main Street. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Paul,
Second.
second by Phyllis. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. A new license request from Garen Aviance for a Class 2 license for Northeast Auto Inc., 500 Main Street, Rare. Apparently, he already holds a Class 2 license for Wakefield. This is for a second location. Can I get a motion?
Would like to discuss, so moved.
Moved by Brian,
Second.
second by
Yeah,
Paul.
for
Discussion.
Just, this is a new license request from an existing licensee.
For a
And are
second
we-
location.
For what?
A different location.
For a different
second
location.
Yeah.
Yes, and are we comfortable with this, just in light
We've
of
had-
recent events?
We've
we're
had no
fine?
issues with him at all. No.
Okay, that's it.
So where was he? Where's he going? Where was he already? Where is
He's
he right
staying
now?
there, Paul.
But this
He's
is
adding
second
a location.
So,
He's adding-
Right.
so where's the first location? That's what matters.
Is there a name now also? Could be Bay State Road. Yeah.
I think he's on Bay State Road, but he's not, we've had no issues with him.
Okay, thank you.
Moved by Brian, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. There's a request from Ann Lucy from the Road Dog for peddlers licenses for the following: Thomas Lucy, William Bethune, Michael Harney, Andrew Cross, Connor Shine, Patrick Sullivan, Cam Russo, Nick Murphy. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
by Patrick, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. There's correspondence in your packets, comments. Town council's no longer here. Steve?
Yes, I know that you did call the public participants, but I think this gentleman here, you were called.
Yeah, but I didn't realize it was this
Oh.
for the garage.
Oh, it was anything. I think he didn't come in, so what do you want to handle him? He's
on
not
up.
on the garage, I know that. I don't want to shut him out.
No, well, this is public participation, so we really don't interact. If you have,
Well, thing is I'm not getting anywhere when I ask the questions, and I talked to Steve today, so I'm here.
all right,
I-
okay.
this bo-
We'll entertain.
Okay, thank you. It's only quick. This board approved some new rules and regulations for peddler's license last year. And being a business owner in this town, I'd like to know if you're gonna enforce them and how are you gonna enforce them, seeing that nothing is being done presently about it.
Steve, would you like to address that?
He's spoken about a couple of
Can I
locations.
just say one?
Yep.
The
go
reason
ahead.
I'm asking this is because this becomes a big weekend. I'm in the flower business, and they set up all over
Can
town.
you state your name and address?
Oh, my name's Willie Donabia. I'm at 330 Salem Street. I got Willow Tree down there. And all I'm saying is it hurts when these people just set up everywhere and nobody does nothing about it. I mean, I should have a little protection. I pay the tax, I pay the excise tax, I pay everything that I gotta pay in this town. So, and there's vendors that are out there right now that aren't moving, so,
Where's your current business?
excuse me?
Where's your business?
My business?
Yeah.
My business is across from the Prime gas station, 330 Salem Street. I sell the mulch, the Christmas trees, the flowers, the pumpkins, all that stuff. I'm a season. I'm open 10 months out of the year, then I shut down for January and February.
I mean, if you guys wanna discuss this, I'd be happy to do that. I think it is an issue, and I think it should be addressed. Steve, are we taking any action on this issue?
I've talked to the police chief. I will continue to do that. The police chief has difficulty removing people from private property,
Yeah.
which is what Bill's talking about. When Bill and I have talked, we've talked numerous times. His main concern, although he's got perfect points on other things, on the other issue too, which we're working on at the head of the lake, is that there are private locations where people are on private property, people are setting up plant stands, and this weekend in particular, and on Mother's Day. So, he's right. I'll talk to the police chief, but, to be honest, it's gonna be hard to go to a private person and say, get those people out of your parking lot and on Easter Sunday.
Can I?
I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing?
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Go ahead, Paul.
It's a valid point, because one of our local florists made the same argument to me over a year ago, saying the same thing about the gas stations setting up shops.
Right.
And the people in the gas station, they're not even part of that, they're just allowing them to set up the shops there. So that actually is the same thing what he's saying right now. It's taking away from their livelihood by these facilities setting them up. If they were, I understand the law, if it's my own property, I could bring the flowers out there. But if it's not my own property, and I'm bringing someone else in, that's where it's a separate license.
Is that accurate? I'm just curious. I would think that I would think it's actually even more onerous that even on your own property, you can't just start selling flowers unless you have or is there no license to sell flowers? I mean, is
I
there?
think even on your own property, you're not supposed to be
Can I,
selling
can
flowers.
I just say one thing to that? I've met like with the building inspector a few times. The thing is, if you just wanna go out and set up outside and start a business, you can't do that, he tells me, because I was looking for another location just for storage of wood out, because I sell a lot of firewood.
Yeah.
And you can't do it outside unless you go to the Board of Appeals and get a special permit. So, when they come and set up, they don't have no special permit, some of them don't even have a peddler's license.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if I went to set up in front of farm stand and sell strawberries in front of their store, I mean, the guy's gonna go out of his mind. So I'm just asking for a little bit of protection, because, I mean,
Do these people that set up these stands, do they pay a fee to us? Do they?
No,
do they-
no. They set up on Easter Sunday, then they're gone.
Could we go to the gas station
We can-
where they do this and say, you cannot not allow to have
We-
anybody bring flowers?
We
and
can
sell
do
them
that,
here?
we can tell them
And
that.
unfortunately, and you're still right, from my view. Some of them are Wakefield residents, I happen to know, who, this is what they do outside of Wakefield, and, on Mother's Day, they fly their trade here on their home turf, doesn't,
I was
make
asked to
it
leave
right.
I was having a muffin this morning on the bench down the lake with a muffin, a glass of milk, and reading the newspaper. After I left Steve's office, it was
You
beautiful.
didn't bring
out.
me back in.
Yeah.
And, but the thing, I parked my truck down at the lake, and a certain individual came over to me at the bench and told me to move my truck. It was his spot. I mean, come on, I mean, this is what's starting to make my stomach burn a little bit now. I had to move my truck so that he could set up his business for the day. He's not paying a penny, he doesn't even have his stuff in the town of Wakefield. He moved out of a location in Wakefield to Woburn, so he doesn't even,
not selling flowers, right?
and he's not selling flowers, but I'm just saying, I had to move so he could set up his business day.
Bill's definitely right, we need to crack down on this. The other issue is people using the public way as advertising, and they're parking their vehicles there all day.
Yep.
Tattoo removal being one of them,
Yep,
so.
right across from Honeydew every day.
I had to move a palm
And there's
tree
others.
last year, it was too close to the sidewalk, they came down. I understand he gets a complaint, they sent me down. They had made me move my sign back 5 feet, they made me take the A-frame down there, but you go down Main Street and there's A-frames all over the town. I mean, but that's
Yeah.
another thing, that's another question. I'm more concerned about my business. I work when it's 90 degrees out, I work when it's 0 out selling Christmas trees, I want a fair shake too in the town. I mean, I pay every fee that I have to pay in this town.
Steve, I think that should be addressed. I really think it should. Can
I'm
we,
glad that you're all behind it, and we'll,
Yes, yeah.
Can we
we'll,
talk to
we'll,
the
ref-
chief?
we'll let the chief know.
Thank you.
and we would like to see him enforce it.
Yeah, I will, and maybe I'll do some outreach to the different people ahead of time.
Yeah, it's something, I was gonna say, it's just something
Yeah.
proactive, so that,
Maybe we should, well,
I don't think those folks are.
Easter's this weekend, maybe we should give them a heads up.
Yeah, exactly, I was saying
tomorrow
doing
and
outreach
say,
ahead of time, exactly.
Hey, this is what's gonna happen, so let these people set up here.
Right.
I get your bylaw if you want a copy of it.
Do we have them?
Anyway, I appreciate
Thank you,
your time.
Bill.
Thank you very much.
Bill's always a gentleman when he comes in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, I think he's right.
All right.
All right, thank you. I saw him
No,
waiting.
I wasn't
you
sure what-
called him, yeah.
Phyllis.
Oh, I have a couple of things, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A
I
couple
thought you
things.
were
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was nice. He exceeded my time there. A couple of very quick things. Number one is that I was, speaking of gifts, I was given a gift from the Wakefield Friends of Tennis, who are actually providing us with 3 benches for our new tennis courts. This is at no cost to the town.
Can you repeat that again?
Yeah.
No
cost to the town. The Wakefield Friends of Tennis are combining with 3 benches, and we'd like to accept a gift of $2,790 for those 3 benches.
I move it.
Second.
Moved by Brian, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. A couple of other things. We will be posting for all committees per the new bylaw. So all of the renewals that we do and the re-ups in May, so people should put in their names and people in the public, and we'll be having a letter going in the paper. And I hope that people do take advantage of this, because you do, giving yourself back to the town, there is a lot of reward to that. Despite, sometimes you don't always get your way, but I think in these committees, you really can make some changes, so I hope people do take advantage of that. Couple more quick things, I'm sorry. Last week, Pat Glynn made a passion plea, or one of our last budgets, for money for roads and potholes and what have you. And Pat, I just want to let you know that for this one time, the state actually has come forward, and that Wakefield is receiving a one-time contract from Mass DOT, allowing us to draw down on $102,029 for reimbursement of projects regarding to road facility repairs resulting from this harsh winter.
Well, that just saved everybody time at town meeting.
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
I was gonna
so,
push. put
Nice
more
job,
fun at town
nice
meeting.
job getting that money for us, Pat.
yeah, so this is really a nice thing, and I was actually, no warning, this came out snail mail, which I was surprised about, and we've already put in our list. So this is a nice bonus for the town. Great. Last thing I wanted to point out is that, then we'll talk about Mr. Glynn. Mr. Glynn is very busy running all around. Not only is he running in the marathon on Monday, and I want to wish him well there, and I'll be there to cheer him on, but he's also been highlighted in the People on the Move section of the Boston Business Journal as he took his new job at Transwestern RBJ, and he's running their Northeast region. So congratulations, Pat. He's running that, and he's running all around, so thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Phyllis?
I only have 2 nice things to say. Don't forget the food pantry, because Betsy isn't here. And I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday Easter weekend. Thank you.
I'm good. I would also have a great Passover week and a Easter weekend as well.
Paul? Same thing here. Happy holidays to everyone involved. Don't forget that the 26th is the 7th annual Blossoms at the BB. It's the Kentucky Derby theme this year. Everyone is invited to come down. It's $35 per person. It's going to be a fabulous event. Hope to see everyone there at that time and go from there.
Don't spill on the new chairs.
You have to support the library somehow. But that's it, thank you.
I urge thank you, Steve, for your kind words. I'm looking forward to the marathon and hoping it's a safe and enjoyable day for everyone. I also want to encourage everyone to go out and vote, exercise their right on Tuesday, April 22nd, and hope to see you guys in a couple of weeks. That wasn't a solicitation at all. And one other serious matter, Steve, I've gotten a lot of calls from people in and around the Kelly House on Main Street. And I actually had spoken to the police chief and did a little background, and got some background on some activity over the last year or so at that site. And I was wondering if we could maybe schedule a meeting with some of their management and perhaps the police chief and perhaps town council to make sure that those folks are living by their rules and regulations. So that's all.
Brian?
Since we customarily solicit for the food pantry at the end of every meeting, I will solicit for Pat Glynn, who we mentioned the marathon is running it for a cause. And Pat, could you please tell me into your microphone what your website is where people can donate?
Because I didn't do it
where
last
I
year.
can donate?
It's the American Liver Foundation, so if you go to americanliverfoundation.org and run for research, you can type in my name and sponsor. All the money goes for research for people with liver disease. We've, as a team, raised upwards of $1.2 million already. It's the oldest and first charity involved in the Boston Marathon. And today made it over $9,000 personally, so.
Great.
So.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Just back on the good old garage matter, I've made a few little jokes here, but obviously a very serious issue in town. I'm delighted to see a group of citizens basically come forward and put this matter back on the referendum for town meeting. I had gotten a lot of phone calls and a lot of feedback from folks who, quite frankly, were shocked that it didn't pass. I think a lot of folks thought that it was, you know, I think one of the folks tonight called it a no-brainer. And I think that was part of the prevailing sentiment that caused people to not go to the polls. There were a lot of people that were shocked. Geez, I didn't vote. I thought I didn't need to. So I think this gives people a second bite at the apple. I also think it gives folks time to invest a little more time into understanding the deal. I think the forum and the opportunity to see that on TV was helpful. I found that most people, if not all people I talked to who watched it, came out understanding the deal and therefore in favor of it, which tells me that a little more time and some good information in people's hands will help them understand how valuable the deal is to the town. You know, we basically are voting in favor of generating, you know, millions of dollars in positive revenue while also getting a garage for free, if you want to think of it that way. But I think this will give people time. I think there's now a group of citizens who were before a little quieter, just thinking, well, this will pass, and now they're engaged and active, and I think that will go a long way towards getting the message out. And you know, as I've reflected on this, I think the deal is a little bit complex. Doesn't make it bad. It's actually part of what's so beautiful about it. It's a little complex. It's an interesting, creative deal. But at the end of the day, for some people, it may have just been a classic case of too good to be true, which is why you've heard these, well, there must be a backroom deal, there must be some other, well, there isn't. And I encourage everybody to spend the time, do the research, and understand that it really is just a great deal. It's a deal where all parties are benefiting, and the town more than any party. So anyway, one of the things I'd like to do tonight is this board, you know, at town meeting on articles doesn't typically make a recommendation. I'd like to move tonight that we formally recommend approval at town meeting. Perhaps Tiz can do that as chair. But I'd like to make a motion that we stand up and formally recommend it and state that it was unanimous, or whatever the vote may have been tonight, in favor of that article at town meeting. That's a motion.
Motion made by Brian, second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pat, good luck.
Motion to adjourn.
Pat, good luck on
he's not done talking.
Monday and Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tiz. Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.